We've got a video camera to look at today. It's a JVC one, because it's likely that this is one that would be sold with the JVC portable VCRs that we looked at in the previous videos. This is a video camera. It's only a camera. It doesn't have any recording device or storage in it. Just a video camera. And this one it's a JVC GX-N5 E. E probably means it's the PAL version. What says there? Look, GX-N5E color video camera. Color. And what you do to use this thing is there's a connector there, and you use that to connect the camera to your portable VCR, so you can take the VCR out with you and go recording videos. So here's a cable. You line it up appropriately, and it clicks into place. And then it's got standard 10-pin camera connector on the end of it, which is used by pretty much everyone except Sony, of course, because they always want to do their own thing that's not compatible with anyone else, just to make life annoying. There's the VCR we looked at a few episodes ago, HR2200, and there's its camera connector on the front. So you connect that in there, put a battery into the VCR, and away you go, recording exciting home movies without pointing that at the sun, because if you point that at the sun, it's game over. You're going to have a black line across the screen that does not go away. Alternatively, you can connect the camera up to an AC adapter here. This one's a Victor, which is Japan Victor company, the V, which they called their stuff Victor in Japan for some reason, and JVC everywhere else. Because it's a Japanese model, it is 100 volts AC only. You cannot join it up to 120 volts because you'll saturate and burn out the transformer. So we're going to connect it to 100 volts, and we'll try power up the camera and see if it works, because I have no idea if it works or not. So this thing has got the camera connector on it, and then it's got this thick-ish cable coming out of it, which terminates into some plugs that someone before me has already had a go at and kind of ruined. But they've changed the audio right into the video output, presumably because the video had a BNC plug on it and they didn't know what to do with that. So let's see if this does anything. It seems to be an on-off switch there. I guess that's the whole camera power switch, although this thing, all that comes off. So if that's not on there anymore, I'm not sure if it's a power switch. Don't know. So this handle, pistol grip, is optional, or it's removed for storage and for tripod mounting, although there is still a tripod mount on the bottom of that. So it's like a cine camera, 8mm film camera, that sort of thing. It's got multi-purpose buttons here, which you can choose what they do by the switch, either setting the date, presumably for on-screen, a title, position and character, memo, display on off, and remote, where it's on off, stop, pause, record, rewind, play. Don't know what on off means. Maybe it's the same as that, the start stop. Trigger. You can manually zoom with that. Manual focus. This is powered zoom though. You can use these buttons to zoom in and out with the motor. The Canon TV zoom lens, 11 to 70mm, 1 to 1.4, and has a macro function when you pull this out. For focusing close, there's some filtery things. Outdoor, indoor, light setting. I think we'll put an orangey filter in front of it, front of the lens. And then I think that's the filter for when you're doing the white balance, setting the white balance by pushing that, presumably, or maybe that. Yeah, I think that's make it standard white balance. That is to adjust it to current white balance by pointing it at something white. There's an auto or manual control for the iris, and when it's on auto you can use this to make it a bit more or less sensitive. Exposure compensation, and when it's on manual you can use this to bring it more or less. I think that's mechanical. Kind of sounds like it is. Oh yeah. Look very carefully in there. You can see something opening and closing. Quite a dirty lens. Funguses will be growing on it, as they do on old stuff. Oh look, there's also... Well, you can see what the iris is doing there. There's a little gauge thing. That's quite exciting. So we're going to see if it's on auto, if it's doing anything. There's a microphone here. Optionally, stereo microphone can be plugged into there. There's a fade, which I think will make it go to black when you push the button to stop recording, and probably the other way when you start recording. The powered zoom that we saw. There's under this little flap contrast and brightness control trim pots, which will be for the viewfinder. Black and white, 1 or so inch CRT viewfinder. Something there, I don't know what that is. I think that's all of the things it's got. Let's see if we can power it up and have it do something. Let's see, switch this on. It's doing something there. Oh, we have to do that. It seems to be responding. If you manually put that down and put it to auto iris, it's doing something. Power zoom is working. Let me push that switch to off. Doesn't change anything. So it doesn't seem to respond to light in any way. And also there doesn't seem to be a video out. It makes me wonder if this box is messed up. Because that's the second time it's seemed to do nothing. If I accidentally unplugged something somewhere. Weird, there's no output. But then that's not doing anything. There's no picture, it's just like raster of the screen. It's just the screen being lit up, not actually showing anything. No sign of life. Alright, in that case, and also that switch there doesn't seem to do anything. On off of, don't know. Unless that's like record, but then there's a record button there. Oh, if you push the title button, it starts flashing. Date, it puts the date. Yeah, I wonder if this cable's wrecked. No, I don't know. Oh, actually, wiggling this does something. Maybe this thing is bung. On my monitor I can get it to say unsupported signal when this is wiggled in the right direction. So I'm guessing this adapter thing is cooked. Oh well, that's unfortunate. I thought it was exciting to use the one that actually matches the cameras. Instead of fiddling about with that, let's take apart the camera and have a look inside it. That's the exciting thing. Doesn't seem to work. How sad. Guess it's got juicy or dried up capacitors inside it. That's the usual approach these days. That thing, there's a release latch that is double-sided. See, it moves on that side when you push the other side. It moves a little rod thing out of the way. Presumably this will be the same as the other stuff. Number 1 JIS for everything, and then probably a 0 for a few other little bits and pieces internally. Wondering, is that a screw hole? Doesn't look like it. That is weird. It's interesting because on a couple of the other JVC cameras we looked at, there was a little heatsink on the back in that position, which made me wonder if that was a heatsink with a cover to stop air from circulating around it. And it does say there, look, do not point this thing at the sun unless you want to destroy it, or write your name irreversibly in the image sensor or in the sensitive part of the tube. Be like an Etch-a-Sketch you cannot erase. Thought this video might be delayed a bit. Maybe it's not, because Virality happened and it was quite exciting at the club. Okay, that comes off. That's screwed onto a die-cast chassis frame that's inside there. So make it nice and secure, which is what you want. So it's not going to just flop about when it's on a tripod. Presumably this top piece will slide over, like what we saw on the other JVC cameras that we've looked at. Got a lot of those. There's at least 2 more JVC cameras to take a look inside after this one. I think we'll do one more and then we'll look at another set of JVC portable VCRs and then do more JVC video cameras. So under there, I think there's the polarity selection. I don't know, it says PJS there, but it's a 2-position switch. I don't know if that's PJ or J or P or JS. Okay, let's see, does that slide over? Yes. Oh, that's interesting, because when it slides, it's pushing this stuff along. Look at that. That's exciting. They've thought about how that works, and they let that slide. They just let it slide, turned a blind eye to it. Let it slide so that you can unlatch this top thing, which has got little hooks along it. Interesting. I think there's a date here. There's some interesting marks on the molding, and it's got there what looks like date, a year marked, and then dots, 12 up to 12 dots per year. So that would mean this is 1983, and then it's 9th month. That's pretty good. Well, it's old. Really, it's that old? 1983. Let's see, will this thing come apart now? I don't know exactly what happens around this area. Oh look, there's more screws there, that's what happens. Is there something else to do under here? Oh look, there's a sticky, grippy pad thing that needs to peel off. Oh, it's coming apart. Okay, there's an audio board, well, microphone input board, and there's a switch, I was going to say a switch there internally. I don't know if that's to do with gains or it's to do with something. And look at that good stuff. Whoa, big melt mark on that bracket thing, the nylon bracket. Some kind of bodge going on there. A little wire that comes from one of those, what looks like a connector there, and goes through a hole. It looks like an alignment hole for attaching this flexible strip onto the board. Like registration alignment holes, and there's a bodge wire going through the hole. That's pretty good. Pretty interesting. The other side. Oh, look at that. So those controls there. Pushes buttons. And that switches that thing. This all looks pretty similar to the other JVC camera. I suppose that's somewhat expected. Viewfinder. Let's see, we should be able to flap these boards out to see what's going on inside. That is quite bent there. There must be a lot of business going on under there, bowing it out. It's probably bunches of wires. Yeah, quite a bit of wires. Quite a bit, pretty many. A lot of wires. Oh, that's a die-cast box there. That's interesting. And it looks like it has got some kind of power supply business going on in there. There's a couple of wires coming out. 3 wires might mean it's like a transistor or regulator in there. It seems like it can be unscrewed. Sort of. Kind of disassembles everything if you do that. It looks like that die-cast frame, that the tripod thread, that goes up this lens, up past the lens where the front of the tube is only, and then not across the top or across the bottom. The bottom is just kind of floating as a... Look at that. It's a flexible PCB that's got a stiffener on this part here where the bottom is, and there's another PCB mounted vertically out of it, out of a slot. Interesting. Diodes bodged on there, insulation on their legs, bodged on tantalum there, ready to release its smoke. Okay, let's get this side open. Yeah, they're all tantalum capacitors all over it. Just a sniff of overvoltage and those things will let rip. Oh yeah. Oh, you can see now that vertical board there. Oh, even more interesting. It's not just a stiffener put on this part of the flex board. It's actually a plated circuit board that there must be through plated onto the flex. Look at that. There's tracks on the top side of that, and then there's plating through onto the bottom side of the board, which is a flex that's been glued onto it. That's really exciting. then because there wasn't enough space, there's another double-sided plated through board wedged vertically into it. Look at that, there's a bunch of inductors just taped together and glued into the bottom there, just hanging out in the bottom. You see the wires coming off the back there and all the glue. I wonder if that's, I don't know, how does that go into the circuit? It might be like, there might be a filter on the incoming supply, because they seem to come down to that. See, there's the input connector from the VCR. It's got 4 shielded wires. It's probably got left and right audio, video out and video in. It's video in because the playback, if you push play on the VCR, the picture will come back here. And since it had a stereo microphone plug, it must have 2 audios. And then there's 4 other wires. There'll be a ground, power supply, stop start signal, and probably some kind of serial data thing for sending this to the VCR. And that will probably only work on a specific JVC model VCRs. And I'm wondering, those dodgy inductor things, are they somehow wired up to this? Looks like the answer is no. The dodgy inductor things are wired to whatever's in this little box at the back. Some kind of little thing that we can take out. Let's see. It seems to be in a copper enclosure. Have a ground wire going to it. Look at that. This little thing. Little latched lid thing. Look at this. Nice little copper box. Whatever's in here must be important and either generates or is susceptible to interference. Let's see, can we get this thing open? One side popped off easily. It's just raw copper. It's got fingerprints on it from the people who put it together. Oh, look at that. All packed in really tight. Will it come out? Yes, it comes out. Ah, some kind of switch mode doofy by the look of it. Look at that. Little sealed up thing. Wouldn't be surprised if that's what its problem is. Caps sealed in there with active components getting nice and hot. Zero ventilation. More than 40 years old. Recipe for fun. It's like some kind of self-oscillating switch mode power supply thing with a 3-terminal inductory thing there. Some kind of switching transistor, capacitors, token input or output filtering, which had to be beefed up by those much bigger inductors over here. Oh look, there's a slot, that mounting hole thing where it comes out through a slot in the little lid. What an interesting thing. Unexpected, interesting find. And then that box is grounded by this wire here. I suppose I'll put it back together. I don't know. I think this camera is a bit nice to destroy, although it doesn't work, so I'm not sure really what we're supposed to do with it after this. This needs too much stuff lined up. That ground wire is far too short. Anyway, and so there's the picture. The pickup tube is in there. With the end of it, with a vacuum that's been pinched off. The end there, socket, kind of like a CRT socket there, and then there's deflection coils in there with the wires coming off them down to there. Comes out there, that red, blue, yellow, black, orange wires, and then just shielding all around it, tape all around it, I think, to stop those things from pushing on it. Then there'll be a little very sensitive amplifier circuit in there, picks up the picture off the front of the tube. Maybe those wires there, take the signal off the tube. It's all very well sealed up. And on the top there's a fairly standalone instrument. Is a viewfinder, which is basically just a little black and white CRT monitor. Mixed in with that, there's a few other things. There's that polarity switch. Oh, it is 3 positions. Okay, so that thing PJS. And you can set that to whatever one you want it to be set to. And that's all mixed in with the viewfinder stuff, but not actually connected to it. I don't know what that is. Presumably that's part of the viewfinder circuit. To bear in mind that that was turned on recently, and there'll still be a charge. You see the anode connection off the side of the CRT is there. Okay, that all pulls away, so all of that is unrelated to the viewfinder. See, that there is the fade button, and that goes into that board. I wonder if this is something to do with doing the fading or titling or titling. I don't know, it's got a lot of wires going to it, some chips, ICs, and heaps of trimmers. Double-sided components, double-sided board, through-hole plating. So that there, that's the connection to the viewfinder. See, there's a shielded cable there for the video, and then two other cords for power and ground. So that is the same as what we saw before. And that there is that polarity switch, is all those wires there. It's just all mixed in with it. And those will be related to switching, like what happens when you push this. Which that is a latching push button switch, which is interesting. So it's recording or not recording, and that's the only choices you have. It's not just a momentary switch. It latches into record mode. I guess that's why there's 3 settings, because you probably need some VCRs that you just send a pulse to pause and same pulse resume, whereas some it's a constant signal and some is an inverted signal. Not sure, I haven't really looked into that, at how that works at the other end, at the VCR end. You just know all cameras have some sort of chooser-nator for that. So as well as the anode voltage, high voltage for the CRT for the viewfinder, there'll be a transformer and voltage doublery thing there. There's the same thing happening for the camera pickup tube here. Also, it looks like a thermal fuse. I wonder if that would push against that, maybe, when it's running. So that wire there with that connector is the power zoom controls from here, with a capacitor for good measure. Just 3 wires, and there's another 2 here going in there. Maybe that's the power, and then this is the switch. I guess a motor reversing circuit. I'm not sure. Can we get into this? It might involve having to pull apart of a bunch of stuff in the lens. Let's see. Just switch down to a 0. Oh no, someone's had a go on this already. Fully stripped out that screw. So that's wonderful. I think we can manage though with the right amount of pushing. The GI screws lock in with the right screwdriver very, very well, but with the wrong screwdriver or camming out, they are destroyed almost immediately. So they're like plastic wide thread type things, and then going into that casting, it's a bit strange. Like coarse thread, self-tappers. Yeah, I think as expected. Oh no, it does come off a bit differently. Oh look, there's the switch, and there's a zoom motor, and it's like a clutch type thing, so that the motor, because it's got such a gear reduction, you can barely turn the motor. So there's always like a slipping clutch thing, so that you can manually turn it, and once it gets to the end stops, the motor can just spin freely and not be stalled. So that's what's happening here. The motor can be turned if you push enough force on it. And then there's some kind of clutch thing there. Okay, it looks like this top bit just sort of pulls off over it, just like bends out, comes off. It's a bit dicey, especially for something so old. Okay, now we get to see what exciting goodies are in here. Yeah, look at that. Looks like an ND filter for that one. And yeah, kind of orangey yellow filter for the other one. That's good. And then, oh, look at that. The manual auto iris thing. Oh, okay. That's cunning. Delicate little mechanism here. As you set it between manual and auto iris, you see that wheel down there, that small one, gets pushed against that. See, pushed against it, and then it allows you to override what the iris motor thing wants it to do. There's a bit of play in there. I guess they didn't know how it was going to line up with the casing, maybe? A neat little delicate thing. And that there will be the... Is that what drives the iris motor? I think it's multiple things, isn't it? Iris motor is this one here. It's got those wires. 4 wires. Orange, white, red, yellow. I think those are going onto here. It looks like it. Onto there somewhere. And then the zoom motors also go onto there. And then whatever that is goes onto there. I think that comes from the main board. No, I think the iris stuff goes straight over to here. It goes to that. Okay, so that must be all the like the powered zoom motor driver thingy. And whatever lamp is, it says lamp. Lamp. What kind of lamp does this have in it? It's probably got a bias light. Looks like it does. See, there's 2 wires here going sort of not quite into the back of the tube socket, but a little bit further up. And there's a PCB visible there. So there'll be, oh yeah, look, you can see it there. Red LEDs around the back of the tube to provide a little bit of illumination, which improves the sensitivity because I think it gets it just on the edge of going, like just on the edge of being able to see some light. So it's kind of warmed up, I guess. Gives better low light sensitivity. And the first signs of deep trouble. Very corroded solder joints there, which will be electrolytic capacitor. That's starting to part company, so it's not going to be long until all the others in this follow if they haven't already. Although it's got a lot of tantalum capacitors, so they're probably saving it a bit. And there's some more power supply stuff under there. Metal shield on both sides. Great! What an interesting thing. It's a very similar layout to the other JVC cameras. Those 2 that also had a similar kind of pistol grip thing. So go watch the videos about them if you want to see the joys we discovered inside those cameras. I'll have a look at putting this stuff back together. That just somehow pushes on there without destroying all this delicate stuff in the process. Oops, oh well, I did. Guess that was a little bit ambitious, wasn't it? That's a shame. Is that the only way to get this on? Or are you supposed to take the lens apart? I don't think you can. Maybe you can. I think you have to take the... I think this is an early stage part of the assembly, because if you look this way, there's screws there, and there's a hole in the casting there to help you reach that screw. So I think very early on this plastic thing would be assembled before the lens is mounted onto this part. But yeah, that's very deep stuff to get into there. Should we undo it? Yeah, might as well. We came this far. Already broken that bit of the housing, so let's just undo this to see what happens. Oh, it's barely even done up. There's very little thread engagement on those. Oh, so that's what that notch is for. I thought that was just for the cables to go in, but I think it's more to get your screwdriver in there. You want to get it really straight on so it doesn't destroy the head of the screw. And then look, a little access hole here so you can get to that one. So yeah, I guess you're supposed to have undone these before attempting to remove this housing thing. Oh well. Now you know, so you don't destroy your one of these cameras. Yeah, look, now the lens is off. And now that that's happened, this thing here probably would have gone on quite easily, would it? Yes, because you wouldn't have to pull it all the way past there, it would just go this way. So it'd still have to stretch a little bit, but not as much. Yeah. Look at that, now we can see the iris. That's a nice thing, isn't it? And you also see that those color filters go down a little track so that they don't sort of flap about too much. Nice. A nice thing. And then we've got the zoom lens. And we can now confirm what I was talking about in the previous video camera teardown video, where it's a TV zoom lens. That means it maintains its focal distance throughout its zoom range. And the way it does that is by the special way that the elements move back and forth. See that in the front element focusing, so that just moves in and out to focus. And then that secondary one in there, in the widest position, it's all the way forward. And then as you get more close-up telly, it moves back. But then the back element, we start wide, it's all the way back. As you zoom in, it moves forward, but then it starts coming back again. And the amount that it's doing that is being worked out so that it achieves consistent focal length. And so it means the image that you see through there, if that can be in focus, will remain in focus through the zoom range, in theory. Now I don't even know which way around this was to put it back. Guess we can work it out. Because it would go on the top, with the labeling at the top. Don't know if there's any keying. Yeah, there's lots of keying. See, it's got these little post things there and there. So those would need to line up. Easier said than done. Oh, there you go. Now those screws that have probably fallen out can be done up. Tape is all gone sticky. Everything about old stuff has gone sticky. Okay, it's back together again. Perfectly functioning. Great. Thing is, this might hold itself together. To see, I was just thinking, because that kind of hooks into it, that back bottom piece, it's got little hookies on there. Maybe that hooks into it. Hooks into something. No, that hooks into the metalwork, not into the plastic. Alright then. Yeah, that's the screw that was flogged out head on it. Guess someone's had a go in this before. If those screws are so munted. Like, it seemed like multiple of those screws are munted. Bit strange, but all the other screws seem to be fine. Maybe they didn't get very far, whoever it was, whatever they were doing to this thing. There's not really much more to put back together, is there? It just sort of sits in there. Got this back thing to, weird little power supply thing to put in. Okay, the problem with that is getting that ground wire in position, because it wants to be not there and in a different place. Maybe just do it pre-bending. Maybe we're going to do it on this side where that wire is. Oh yeah, that might be the key. Okay, and then that screws up to there. That sort of holds everything together. There's something else. So we've got... oh, there's nothing else. They're almost there. Remembered now, there's only one that's got a little insulating washer thing. And it's the only one that was really close to tracks on the board. That's nice and bowed out again. That's good. Okay, I don't remember. Yeah, it was that one. That's the one that needed the insulator. That one's quite close to tracks, but not that close. They were just being overly cautious there. You can see some good bodges right by it. Resistor there, some kind of that thing there. all just goes back together nicely. That will just sit in there. Well, this interesting thing will just slide along as it needs to. Just gonna get that connector out of the way. Easier said than done. Guess that's like that, I suppose. That wire from the microphone circuit, it's just capacitors. I don't know if there's any amplifier on there. It goes together nicely. That little slidey thingy. Good. Oh, not good. Look, that's sticking out. Spoil my fun. So that thing's got to be underneath all of this. You got to pull it all apart again. Push that in. And then make sure this one's also slidey and good. Okay, fine, good, done. What's going on? I don't know why it doesn't like this stuff anymore. Just not allowed to see this part, I guess. No, doesn't like that. It's just got to be done further enough, far enough. Alright, last bit. That's also a munted screw. Can't win them all. There you go. There you have it. Perfect condition. Not ruined at all because of what we did to it. JVC GX-N5 color video camera. There's a nice, there's a look inside that, look at, over and inside of that. See how it works, see what's inside there. Didn't work, and it still won't work, but there you go. Stay tuned, next time we'll do another camera. A bigger, possibly more interesting one. So make sure to keep an eye out for that.